wide-based question. In that I'm going initially to find out how much we're contributing to the BBC through the television licence. So I'm asking how many television licences are actually purchased on the Isle of Man. I thought it would be really interesting. I then go on and I've got a little element of the question, look at black and white television licences. It was quite interesting last week that the BBC suggested that 6,000 are still being bought in the UK. So I thought, how many are actually buying on the Isle of Man? And the third bit of question is looking at the over 75s. I've got quite a few constituents who are quite concerned at the moment that they've got a 6-month television licence through the post and they're now concerned about what happens next.
Well, this is something that has been on the radar for a little while, the uncertainty over the licences for over 75s. Is it a bit concerning that there hasn't been more clarification in this area?
Yeah, I'm hoping it's a good sign that they're actually coming up with some really good solution. But the people themselves are starting to say this is a short period of time. We've got a licence in front of us at the end of May. There's going to be a replacement, but who's going to pay for it?
Just turning as well to the black and white licences, for the black and white sets, does that imply that maybe some people haven't been able to afford the colour TV licence? It is a cheaper deal, I think, for the black and white.
Yeah, it's much cheaper, potentially. But people keeping a black and white television going for so long, they're doing incredibly well. Televisions are now much more competitively priced than they were even 5-10 years ago. But I just thought it would be an interesting piece of data to find out how many people in Ireland are still using those.
And you mentioned that there has been quite a bit of concern among your constituents. Is that a problem you think is island-wide, really?
Yeah, definitely. There's a level of uncertainty. We know what's happening across. We were late to the feast, and now we're kind of having to look at the situation and come up with a solution. The biggest underlying problem is that the way they've come up with a solution in the UK isn't really applicable to the Isle of Man. So we need to come up with something that's comparable, or look at the cost of these licenses and come up with an alternative solution completely.
Okay, well, turning to your written questions as well, there's one about trees being planted and felled. Why is that a topic that's coming up?
It's really a following question. I asked a similar question in January 2018. I got the data then for 2010, 2015 and 2017, and it was incredibly interesting in terms of the range of the data, that some years we were getting virtually 30,000 trees planted, which was 2015. 2017 it was down to 14,600, and given the Chief Minister's pledge, it would be interesting to see what's happened this year, what movements taken place.
Well, I was going to bring up the Chief Minister's pledge. This is to plant more trees, of course, across the island.
Yeah.
Is that something you're in favour of?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's something I've spoken to Minister Boot about previously. There seems to be much more emphasis on the adjacent island in terms of tree planting, forests and that type of thing. But the Chief Minister's decision has certainly moved us forward, hopefully. It's been interesting that Tynwald members have been able to plant trees, and yeah, I've planted my tree at St John's, and that was incredible.
Well, talking about the numbers being felled in particular, if that's something that's going up, is it counterintuitive to be felling trees and planting trees at the same time?
I guess so, but with trees you've got the management and you've got various diseases, you've got various other issues. So I presume that you've always got that ongoing, and potentially the number of trees felled was more consistent than the number of trees planted. So for the 3 years I've actually got over the last 10, it was ranging between about 17,000 and 10,000, whereas the numbers planted was 46,700 down to 24,600. So it would be nice to have a full data set for the last 5 years, and then perhaps it'd be more easy to compare what we have.
And your final question is about on-island and off-island tuition fees since 2015. Is there a particular concern in this area?
No, it's just really a question that's always intrigued me. The way in which the tuition fees are paid is having a tremendous benefit to the students and really encouraging them to go into higher education. There's always been kind of the question asked about what happens in those initial weeks where the students go across and come back. And I've never actually seen any data on that, so I thought that would be an interesting piece of data that's come through. But also the on-island situation in terms of the number of people actually doing courses here and benefiting from those.
And you've also got an aspect of this question that relates to students dropping out. Do you think that that's something that indicates maybe fees are having an impact in that area?
I think that seeing the data, it's hard to actually get any overall impression. Having been a teacher for numerous years, it was always kind of an impact when a student came home, and with the University College of Man offering more courses, you see them kind of coming back and going into the courses there. So it's not the dropout that has traditionally happened. So it will be interesting in terms of how that data has changed and what really is happening there.